As you all know, we are going through a very tough time right now, and since the entire country is locked down due to the widespread threat of novel coronavirus. So, since our session used to begin generally in the month of April, we are not able to begin it according to the plan. So the RO Jabalpur, KVS RO Jabalpur have come up with a very brilliant plan of providing you with online classes or the remote learning classes, and I'll be dealing with economics. Okay, before discussing about economics, let us discuss a few things about the syllabus, regarding the syllabus of 2020-21. Hope you all have gone through the syllabus of 2020-21. If you have not gone through it, please get the syllabus from your respective teachers, or you can even download the syllabus and go through it. In our class 12 syllabus for this session, that is 2020-21, we have two parts. Part A comprises of macroeconomics and part 2 comprises of Indian economic development. We will be first dealing with macroeconomics portion, that is part A, and in macroeconomics there are 5 units in total. Out of those 5 units we have 3 units which comprises of 6 marks each, and from that 3 units itself, today we are going to deal with one of the unit of those 3 units, and the name of the unit is money and banking, and money and banking is the second unit in your syllabus. Okay, and money and banking comprises of 2 chapters, that is money as one chapter and banking as another chapter. So today we are going to discuss about the first part, that is money, chapter money, and we will be dealing this chapter money in 2 lectures. So in today's lecture we will be discussing about first part only. So today's chapter is chapter money, and myself Virat Chhetri, PGT Economics, and I am from KV Badkui. So before dealing with money, before discussing about money, we need to know about the economy in which money was not in existence or money was not introduced. Okay, or we will first discuss about a pre-monetary economy, or the economy in which money was yet to come. Okay, so you all know that before the money's discovery or before money's advent in our system, there used to be a system of exchange which is known as barter system. Okay, and what do you mean by barter system? barter system means it is a system in which good or service is exchanged with any other goods or services. Okay, now here what used to happen in barter system is that you can exchange potatoes with onions, or potatoes with rice, or potatoes with tomatoes, or even potatoes with any services like a haircut, horse ride, etc. So what used to happen was goods used to exchange with goods, or goods used to be exchanged with services. Okay, hope you have understood what barter system means. Now you may be thinking that if exchange used to take place before the discovery of money also, then why was there the need for discovering money? Since you all know that money is a very evil thing, because nowadays we see that there are many wars going on over the control of wealth, control of economy and all, then why was there the need to introduce such an evil thing in our society? For that we need to understand the limitations, we need to understand the drawbacks of barter system. Okay, we will discuss the limitations of barter system now. In limitations of barter system, the very first limitation of barter system was that there was no common medium of exchange. Okay, so it led to the problem of double coincidence of wants. Okay, and second problem was there was no common unit of account. Now we will discuss about these 2 limitations in details. Okay. Let us, in order to explain the problem of common medium of exchange, let us take an example. Okay, let's say there is a farmer named Ram and who is growing rice. Okay, and he is growing rice and offering rice for exchange. Okay, and there is another farmer, let's say Sham. Okay, Sham, and he is producing potatoes. Okay, now Ram wants to exchange the rice which he grows with the potatoes. Okay, Ram wants to exchange rice with potatoes, but Sam doesn't want to exchange potatoes with rice. Now in this case the exchange did not used to take place, because here, even though Ram is offering rice against potatoes, he is willing to exchange rice against potatoes, but Sam, who is producing potatoes, is not willing to exchange potatoes with rice. So there was problem of exchange. Now what Ram could do was, he will keep on searching for such a farmer or for such a person who will be willing to take his rice and offer him potatoes. So this problem is the problem of double coincidence of wants. Here there used to be a mutual understanding between two parties who were exchanging with each other. Okay, so how did money system or the money overcome this problem of double coincidence of wants? Now we all are living in monetary economy. We know that in our economy, in which the money exists, what Ram could do is that he will take his rice to the market or the nearby mandi. Okay, and he will sell off his rice, and against the rice which he sells, he will get some money, isn't it? So with that money he can buy anything, whether he can either buy potatoes, onions, apples, etc. So he is free to purchase anything once he exchanges his rice with money. So the problem of double coincidence of wants is not at all there in the monetary system. In the similar way, Sam can offer his potatoes to the nearby market, get the money and spend it on anything which he wants. Okay, so this is how the problem of double coincidence of wants is overcome or solved by the money or monetary system. Okay, now we will move on to the next limitations of money, that is problem of common unit of account or the common measure of value. So here also we will take one example. Okay, now along with Ram, Sam will take one more farmer or one more party, that is Raju, and who is growing onions. Okay, who is growing onions. Now there are three parties in the system. Now Ram and Sam decided to exchange their product with each other. They agreed to exchange their product with each other. Okay, and they agreed in such a way that the exchange rate is 1 kilogram of rice is equal to 1 kilogram of potatoes. Okay, here R represents rice, P represents potatoes, and O represents onions. Okay, so Ram and Sam decides to exchange their product with each other, and the exchange rate is what? The exchange rate is 1 kilogram of rice is equal to 1 kilogram of potatoes. Okay, in the similar way, let us further assume that, or let us further take an example that Shyam and Raju also have agreed to exchange their products with each other, and here also the exchange rate which they have decided is 1 kilogram of potatoes equals to 1 kilogram of onions. Okay, so from these two transactions or from these two exchanges, we may think that since 1 kilogram of rice is equal to 1 kilogram of, since 1 kilogram of rice is equal to 1 kilogram of potatoes, and since 1 kilogram of potatoes is equal to 1 kilogram of onions, then obviously when Raju and Ram is going to exchange their products, then obviously the exchange rate should be 1 kilogram of rice equals to 1 kilogram of onions. You may think that, isn't it? You may think that this may be the exchange rate. So this may be the exchange rate. Okay, but what happens in reality is that it may not be the case. What happens in barter system is that the exchange takes place on the basis of the need of the person. Now when Ram and Raju is going to exchange their product with each other, it may be the case that Ram, who is growing rice, may be desperately needing onions. Okay. On the other hand, Raju may not be as desperate as Ram to get the rice. So what happens is, even though they agree to exchange their products with each other, what happens here is Raju will agree to exchange the onions which he grow with the rice which Ram is growing. Okay, but only on one condition, that the exchange rate should be 2 kilogram of exchange rate should be 2 kilogram of rice equals to 1 kilogram of onions. Now if we compare all these three transactions, then in the same market we have two exchange rates. Okay, the exchange rate which was prevailing earlier in the first two cases was that 1 kg of rice equals to 1 kg of onions, and in the same market, when actually Ram and Raju are exchanging their product with each other, agreeing to exchange their product with each other, what they are doing is Raju is willing to offer 1 kilogram of onions against 2 kilogram of rice. So what happens here is there is no common measure of value, because the value here is measured in terms of the goods itself, and there is no common value. But now if we compare it with monetary system, in monetary system you know that everything is valued in terms of money. In India it is placed in terms of rupee, isn't it? Now if we are to buy mobile phones, there is certain pricing which is based in terms of rupee. If you are to buy potatoes, there are certain its value is placed in terms of money, that is rupee again. Okay, now let us take an example again. Let's say that all the three products which we have discussed here, rice, potatoes and onions, all of these three, okay, are priced in such a way that all these three are priced at rupee 20 per kilogram. Now if you have 20 rupees in your pocket or in your hand and you go to the market to purchase these products, then you can either purchase 1 kilogram of rice, or purchase 1 kilogram of potatoes, or purchase 1 kilogram of onions using that 20 rupees. Or else you have an option that you can purchase you can purchase half kilograms each of any of the two products, isn't it? So here the exchange rate doesn't vary. The measure of value or the unit of account remains the same, and that is the money. Okay, so here we were discussing about the problem of common unit of measurement or unit of account, and how money overcame it, or how the money resolved, or the monetary system resolved that problem of common unit of measurement or common unit of account. Now moving forward, there are some other limitations of barter system which we will discuss now. Third limitation of barter system is problem in storing the value of a product or service. So there is a problem of storage of value in case of barter system. For this also we will take a very simple example of two products. Okay, let's say there are two person A and person B. Person A is producing and offering for and willing to offer for exchange the tomatoes. Okay, and person B is a jeweler. Okay, and he is making gold jewelries, let's say necklaces or rings, etc. Okay, now in this case what happens is, person A who is growing tomatoes, since tomato is a perishable product, it will perish immediately, so he cannot store the product for a long period of time. On the other hand, farmer B, or the producer B or the person B who is dealing with golds, he can store his goal for as long period as possible, long time period as possible. So what happens here is that there is disadvantage on the part of the person who is dealing with perishable products. And since barter system was dealing only with products and all the values were expressed in terms of products itself, so those who were dealing with those perishable products, they had a disadvantage that they could not store the value of their product. On the other hand, those who are dealing with the durable products, durable means which can be stored for a long period of time, those person or those producer were in advantage, they could store their value. Okay, now compare this problem in monetary system. Now come to the monetary system where we are using money. In case of money, what happens is, when a person A who is growing tomatoes, what he can do is he can sell off his tomatoes in the market, and whatever fortune he makes or whatever money he makes, he can keep those money in the bank, he can deposit those money in the bank and store it for as long time, as much long as possible. Okay, in the similar way, a person who is owning a gold shop or who is a jeweler, he can sell off the gold and store the money in bank. Okay, so here this is how the problem of storage of value is also resolved in case of money. Okay, in case of monetary system. Now we'll move on to the very last limitations of barter system. Okay, the last limitation of barter system is making deferred or future payments. Okay, making deferred or future payments. Here also we will explain it with the help of a very simple example. Okay, let's say the example which we have already dealt with, that is of Ram and Sam. Okay, Ram who is producing potatoes. Okay, Ram who is producing rice, and Sam who is producing potatoes. Okay, now there is, let's say, a marriage function at the place of Ram, at Ram's home. Okay, is it clear? There is a marriage function at Ram's home. Okay, now we all know that in our tradition there is a culture of feeding people, organizing a feast for the relatives and the neighbors. Okay, so Ram is planning to organize a feast at the wedding ceremony of his son. Okay, but here he will require more potatoes, isn't it? So what he will do is he will talk with Sam. Okay, and they will come into agreement that Sam will be willing to lend some potatoes, let's say 25 kilograms of potatoes to Ram, okay, for organizing the feast. Fine, today. Okay, in current period, Sam is providing 25 kilograms of lending 25 kilograms of potatoes to. It means that the potatoes, 25 kilograms of potatoes will be exchanged with 25 kilograms of rice. Okay, and there is further agreement that while returning the loan, Ram will return extra 5 kilograms of rice as an interest. Okay, भैया थोड़ा उधर जाके बात करेंगे, डिस्टर्ब. Okay, so they may have decided that Ram and Sam decided that Ram will be giving extra 5 kilograms of rice, okay, extra 5 kilograms of rice as an interest on the loan taken from Sam. Okay, now they have agreed that Ram will return the loan in 1 year's time period, in next year. Okay, Now come to the next year. Okay, there is no marriage function at all at the place of Sam, so he may not be requiring 30 kilograms of rice, 25 plus 5 kilograms interest. Okay, so he may deny the offer after 1 year because he may not require that much of rice because there is no such function. So there was always a problem of making future payments because as I have already discussed, in case of barter system, the exchange used to take place on the basis of the need of the person. More the need, more the goods on offer against it. Okay, so how money has overcome this problem of making future payments? In monetary system, we all know that when you give loan to someone, when you lend money to someone, okay, you will come in agreement that you will be charging a certain rate of interest. Okay, now let's say Ram has borrowed 10,000 rupees from Sam and he has decided to repay those loans after 1 year with an interest rate of 10%. That means after 1 year he will be returning 11,000 rupees to Sam, and both will agree happily because money is accepted everywhere. Okay, everyone is in need of money. Hope you have understood the limitations of barter system. Why we are discussing this pre-monetary economy is basically to have a greater idea about money. Okay, now we will discuss about the concept of money and its components. Okay, now what do you mean by money? Okay, what is the definition of money? Before discussing this, let us recall what we have studied till now. Okay, we have discussed about what barter system is, what were the limitations of barter system. Namely, we discussed about the 4 limitations of barter system, isn't it? Now, that 4 limitations of barter system, if you can remember those 4 limitations of barter system, you can easily write the definition of money. Okay, why I am saying this is if you read the definition of money, you will easily find it. Okay, now the definition of money is anything, okay, which is generally accepted as a medium of exchange. Now let us compare it with barter system again. There was no common medium of exchange, so money, in case of money is generally accepted as a medium of exchange. So that limitation, if you know that limitations, you can write the definition as accordingly. Money is anything which is generally accepted as a measure of value. There, in this case also, if you compare it with barter system, there was no common measure of value. So here money becomes the common measure of value. Store of value, there was storage problem, so store of value. There was problem of standard of deferred payment. Here money becomes the standard of deferred payment. So it is very easy to understand the definition of money if you compare it with barter system. That was the reason why I started with the barter system and its limitations. Okay, now we can understand this definition. We can learn this definition with a simple abbreviation word, that is MMSS. We all have we all know that when we send a picture message, it is known as MMS, isn't it? So you have to add one more S to it and it will become the definition of money, that is MMSS. Okay, what does that abbreviation stands for? We will be discussing that. First M means medium of exchange. Okay, second M means measure of value, and first M is medium of exchange, second M is measure of value, first S is store of value, and second S is standard of deferred payment. So if you can remember this abbreviation, that is M S, okay, then you can easily define money. MMSS means money is a medium of exchange, measure of value, store of value, and standard of deferred payment. Okay, now we will discuss about the components of money. what does money comprise of in today's world? Okay, first thing is money comprises of cash in hand or currencies. Okay, it comprises of currencies or cash in hands. Cash in hands or currencies simply means that the currency notes and coins which we use for making payments in our daily life. Okay, like you all know that there are currency notes, paper notes in India of 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees, 100 rupees, 500, and recently 2000 rupees note was also launched in the market, isn't it? So it either takes the form of cash in the form of currency notes, paper notes, or in the form of metallic form. Okay, metallic form means coins. You must have seen the coins of 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, isn't it? So which can be easily used in the transaction purposes, which can be easily used in the exchange purposes. Okay, the second part is deposit money. Okay, second part is deposit money. Now we have to discuss about it a bit in details. Okay, you all know that people do keep their money in bank. Okay, and usually when we talk about deposit money, we are mainly dealing with only the demand deposits in the bank. Okay, we are not dealing with the time deposits, or in common words we use a term fixed deposit, and you must know what you may know what fixed deposit means. Fixed deposit has a certain time period, okay, maturity period. Let's say a person has deposited 10,000 rupees as a fixed deposit in his account, okay, for 5 years. Then that person cannot withdraw that money before the maturity period, that is 5 years. He cannot withdraw that money in 3 years time or 2 years time. Okay, so there is restriction, okay, on the withdrawal of those money or use of those money. On the other hand, what are the demand deposits? Demand deposits means you have money in your account and you can use your money as and when you require it. Okay, so in demand deposits we have two types of deposits, that is current account deposits and the savings account deposits. We will discuss about it in details when we will discuss the banking chapter. Here what we need to know is this much only, that the money which we deposit in the bank as a savings deposit or the current deposit, we can use it anytime. Okay, we can use it anytime, though there are certain restrictions in saving deposits, but we can still use it for all our transaction purposes, let's say shopping, etc. So how we will use our deposit money? We will use it either through checks, though we will see that checks are not that much in use nowadays for a common person, though it is officially used. It is used in offices and all, but mostly common layman nowadays does not use checks. They either use debit cards or they make online payments. Okay, debit cards are simply means the ATM cards which we have of every bank. So you obviously know it is not as plastic money, so you can use debit cards anywhere you go. You can swipe and shop, you can swipe and watch movies, isn't it? So you can do anything with debit cards nowadays. You can purchase anything with debit cards, so you may not require any hard cash. You may not require any currency notes or coins to be purchasing anything. And similar with the online payments, all the banks nowadays, all the banks have been offering online facilities, online banking. So nowadays people can easily transfer their money through online banking and all. Okay, apart from this, we need to take a note on certain things. Okay, there are certain other forms of payment also available nowadays. We have mobile wallets like Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, etc. What happens with this mobile wallets is you can either transfer the money to this wallets and use it accordingly, or what you can do is you can link your bank account with this wallets, okay, and use the money accordingly directly from your bank. Okay, not only that, there has been mobile apps being launched, mobile banking being launched by all the banks nowadays, so you can easily transfer money, you can easily purchase something using those mobile banking options also. Not only that, in recent times there has been a platform which is known as UPI. UPI means Unified Payment Interface. Now what happens is all the banks have their own respective mobile apps. Okay, let's say if we take an example of SBI, SBI has its own mobile app, that is SBI YONO app. Okay, in the similar way Punjab National Bank also has its own app, okay, PNB mobile app. In the similar way there are some other banks, ICICI Bank, they also have their own mobile app. In the similar way Axis Bank also has their own mobile app. So what you can do is, using this mobile banking, okay, you can make payments. Now what happens is, if a person has more than one account, okay, more than one account and in different banks, let's say a person A has bank account in SBI as well as Punjab National Bank as well as ICICI Bank as well as Axis Bank, then it will be very hectic for him to manage 4 apps together, 4 mobile payment apps together. So what he can do is, he can install UPI, Unified Payment Interface. What does it provide? It provides a common platform, okay. It is an app where you can have an access to any of your banks, okay, whether it be SBI, whether it be Punjab National Bank, whether it be ICICI, Axis or any other bank which is operational in India and which provides mobile banking facility. You can go to the respective banks' link through UPI. Okay, hope you have understood this. Money is something or anything which is generally accepted as an MMSS, medium of exchange, measure of values, store of value and standard of deferred payment, MMSS. And components of money. There are 2 components of money mainly: currencies or cash in hands, which are either in the forms of currency notes or in the form of currency coins, okay. And second form is deposit money. Deposit money simply means the money which you have in the bank, that is savings deposit or current deposit, and you can easily use it through debit card, through online banking, through checks. You can withdraw it through checks and you can make payment through checks and all. And not only that, there are since our government has been encouraging digital forms of payment, so we now see a lot of mobile wallets coming up in the market. So some of them are Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, etc., through which also we can make payment. It also functions as a money, because money, the first function of money, that is medium of exchange, is being taken care of by these apps also. And UPI, I have already explained, it is a common platform to access all the banks from only one platform. Okay, so with this we come to an end of today's lecture, but I would like to share certain things with you all. Okay, certain things with you all, that is first is I'd like to okay, this is CBSE's website, from which you can download, okay, from which you can download the syllabus for all the subjects, not only economics but for all the subjects. You can take a note of this website, and by going to this website you can download the syllabus if you don't have. Okay, and next thing is that there is this website which has been built by KVS RO Jabalpur, kvsrojabalpur.in. Going to this site you can find the materials related to all the subjects. Okay, I'll be uploading notes related to this chapter as well as banking in this website. Okay, I'll be uploading my videos also from my channel in this website. So I hope you all will go through this websites, okay, and find out the syllabus downloaded, and as well as the materials of all the subjects, not only economics. You will get the subject materials of accountancy, business studies, Hindi, English, history, geography, etc. Okay, with this I'd like to end my lecture. Thank you very much for having patiently waiting for my this presentation. Okay, I hope you all will remain safe at home and keep studying. I hope you all will remain at home and keep safe and keep studying, because 12, as you all know, is a very important class, it being a board class. So we are coming with this online classes. Okay, I'll be providing my second lecture in coming days, and it will be related to the second part of money. This was the first part of money. We will deal with the second part of money in the coming days. Hope you all understood what I have taught today, and hoping for the feedback from our colleagues so that I could improve my lecture even further. Thank you very much.